welcome to another up close video. Today's one is another one of the 2022 Cyber Week collections from Tonic, and this one is a special showcase. It's kind of like all of the elements that you would usually get with one of Tonic's magazines, but without the magazine to go with it. So it's all of the gorgeous papers, you get a stencil, a stamp set, and the die set, plus it's on the magnetic sheet in a folder as well. And it is the CRaFTi collection, and it is sew as in S-E-W, it's all sewing themed, and it's a beautiful set which actually creates a three-dimensional cotton reel, which can be a small little gift box, or you can just use them to create a beautiful home decor piece as well. And you're also getting your patterned papers, the stencil and the stamps too. I'll go through the patterned papers first just to get them out of the way, but my tutorial video, which will be up later today, is showing you 3 different ways of creating some different backgrounds with your pattern papers. So it's a kind of an idea that can be applied to any pattern papers that you have, even your Craft Perfect cardstock, but I wanted to do it alongside this special showcase. So I've used all of the elements from this kit, like some of the basic shapes and some of the bits and pieces to decorate some of the stamps and things, and all of these pattern papers. So you're actually getting 12 sheets of patterned paper. These are the 6 sheets, but you're getting 2 of each of them. So technically you're like getting 1 sheet of each pattern, but they're double-sided. So you're getting 2 sheets of each double-sided sheet, if that makes sense. So these are the 6 designs that have, this one is white with tiny little pink polka dots. This one is a darker green with light green polka dots. This one's a gorgeous diagonal kind of aqua sort of plaid. You've got a slightly bigger spot than the first one, but it's roughly the same size as the green spot, which is like the aqua onto white. Then you've got a green background, which is the same colour as the spotty one, but with tiny little white polka dots and little white flowers as well, which you have a stamp that matches that perfectly too in the stamp set. And then you also have a straight kind of design of the crisscrossy, sort of like a gingham, in the pink with white in the background. But on the reverse of these, you've got 6 more designs. So all of those ones are the ones that I was using. They're more like you know, a single colour in their pattern. The reverse sides of them some of them have multiple colours in the pattern. So this one is like a ditzy floral that's got all of the colours, the yellow, the blue, the green and the pink in there, in different tones as well. Really beautiful one. The next one has got a pink stripe on the background that's got like little faux stitching lines in it. The next one is a white background with like little green starburst kind of flowers. The next one is beautiful multicoloured buttons all over it, square buttons and circular buttons, and they will match up with the dies in the set as well. I'm not sure you could actually die cut them out using the dies, but you could definitely use this as a background, and then you'd have dies that would coordinate to create matching little embellishments. You've got this beautiful one here with a white background and then like a light blushy pink kind of gorgeous pattern. Looks very much like it could be a stencil. Really beautiful pattern there. And then we have the final piece is that gorgeous aqua colour in a stripy design similar to that pink one, but it's got some of these like diagonal strips in there. Almost looks a little bit like a fabric-y kind of design with those diagonal strips. So those are the pattern papers, and those are the 6 sheets, but you're getting 2 of each of the sheets. So you could just use one side of each of the 12 sheets, or you could use you know, 2 of the same side of some of the sheets as well, depending what your favourite patterns are. Then we've also got a stencil, so hopefully if I just hold it up like this you'll be able to see it. This looks like the pattern from that patterned paper that I was just saying looks like a stencil, and funnily enough it's on the stencil. So you could actually repeat ink that as well to create your own design in a different colour if you wanted to. But you've got some beautiful designs on here. I didn't actually get round to using the stencil, but you've got like a lovely doily kind of edge on both ends that you could use to give your sort of edge or border designs on your projects, or you could do them and then move them down to be more like in the middle of the card with a sentiment running through the centre. And then in the middle you've got 3 different sort of background designs really that you could multiply up by masking off the little section, inking it and then moving it along and inking it again to create an overall kind of background, or you can just use them as a little strip as well. It doesn't have to you don't have to sort of multiply them up, you can just use them as they are, or even just as a whole stencil, to be honest. Even though they're different patterns, it would look nice if you just randomly inked the whole stencil and got a little bits of different pattern all in different places on your background as well. So that's the stencil. Then I think I'll show you the dies next, because then when I show you the stamps I can show you which ones coordinate, because you do get a few coordinating dies that will work perfectly with the stamps, so you can cut them out with ease as well. So with the die set, you have got all of the elements in here to create your three-dimensional cotton reel. I've filmed this video in completely the wrong order and over quite a bit of time, so I have got my finished sample here, but you will see me make it later on in the video, so a little bit confusing. But this is what it's designed to create, these three-dimensional cotton reels, and they are actually gift boxes as well, so you can put gifts inside these, or you can just keep them as a home decor kind of project too. This one I stuck the lid on because I knew I wanted it to be lying down and you wouldn't really be able to take the lid on and off, but you've got the options to be able to turn them into a gift box or just use them as a home decor piece as well. So I really like that, and that's the project that I make later on in the video, and I have done a quick construction of how to put one of the cotton reels together. I didn't particularly focus on what dies you need to create it, so I'll tell you those now, but I don't want to ramble on too long because I think the construction portion of the video was like half an hour, so I don't want to ramble on too long. But that is the cylindrical column of the cotton reel, that piece there. Oh, I've got a piece of paper stuck under there. That's that piece. Then for the top portion, so this little piece here that gives you the top and bottom of your cotton reel, there's a few little pieces that you need for that. This is the main circle. And then to go along with that, you need this piece, which gives you that little edge down here. And then you also need this piece, which gives you the sort of cone portion that makes it narrow enough for that main cylindrical portion to fit inside it. So these pieces here are all of your main ones to create your cotton reel, but look at all of the other elements you still have on the die set. So if you don't like your 3D project, it's only these dies that are designed to make the 3D project. And in my tutorial video, when I've shown you how to make the cards, I use these 3 dies here to create elements on cards as well. So there's a whole variety of things that you can do with this set. You don't just have to be able to make that 3-dimensional cotton reel. So that's all of those dies. Then to go along with this circle and to be a decoration on top of the box or on your cards as well, you have got this beautiful decorative pattern with like almost like a lacy picot kind of design. Then you also have another circle, so you could cut that into a donut if you wanted to, or you can use the Made with Love sentiment and cut that out separately and layer it back on top. And this could easily be a focal element for a card. It would look perfect for that. Then to decorate that cylindrical portion of the cotton reel, you have this rectangular panel with a gorgeous design in there, but again, easily used on your cards too. You can use it landscape or portrait on a landscape or portrait card. Lots of different ways of using it. You could put lots of them on there. You could like weave them in and out. If you go back and have a look at some of my, I'm pretty sure they're designer's choice videos where we've had sets that have like a panel and then they also have edges and stuff. I'm sure I have done quite a few samples of things using dies like this that could give you inspiration of how to use this one as well. So beautiful panel, and you'll see that later on as I'm putting the cotton reels together. You'll see that pattern cut out. Then also to decorate that cylindrical portion is this beautiful kind of like lacy edge as well. It's an edged die, so this is however much cardstock you leave will be left here. It only cuts along the 2 ends and along this side, and the reason why it cuts on the ends like this, whereas some edge dies don't give that end cut here, the reason why it does that is if you cut this as it is, you can wrap this perfectly around that cylindrical column and it will meet. Unless you're playing around with other panels on there as well, if you're just sticking this straight onto the column, it will completely match, and I show you that later as well. So that's the beautiful design there. This panel here, which creates this side bit of your cotton reel, you actually have two different designs that you can deboss into this once you've die cut it. So you have these two beautiful little panels here. One's got like tiny flowers in it, and one's got like swirly bits with little hearts in there as well. And I actually use both of them on mine. I was being lazy and I didn't want to have to run it through twice, so I just put both of the patterns next to each other. So half of it has one pattern and half has the other pattern, and I think they look absolutely perfect. And in the tutorial video I'll also show you another way of using these within your card making as well. And then we have tons of other different embellishments in here. We've got a couple more words that we can use. So we've got sewn with love. So if you are into your like actual sewing of like garments or items and stuff, you can use this with that. Or if you like doing sewing onto your cards, you can also use sewn with love as well. Or even just with faux stitching too. And then you also have sew and craft as well that you can use. I use the craft one on mine, but you've also got the word sew too. You also have this little die here, which is nice that they're both together. You've got a needle and a pin, so you can do all sorts with those as well. You've got a couple of different safety pins. You've got an open and a closed safety pin, so you've got those to use in different areas. You have got a little heart, a little leaf and a little butterfly as well that you can add as beautiful little embellishments. I use the leaf on one of my cards in the tutorial as well to create a little frame. You've got multiple different button dies too. You've got 5 different button dies, and they all cut out as they are, giving you the holes in the middle, which is nice. You don't have to fiddle around with an extra die to cut those holes in the centre. Some of them have got stitching designs on them. You've got the flower shaped button. You've got 2 different square ones, one with stitching, one without, and 2 circles in different sizes, one with stitching with 2 holes and one without stitching with the 4 holes in as well. So lots of options. If you don't have real buttons in your stash, you can do your die cut buttons. You've got this lovely little one for your flowers. They are beautiful flowers, those. I use tons of them on my 3D little home decor project. You've got a little pair of scissors, which are always adorable. So cute little scissors. You have got the ability to create a little dressmaker's dummy as well. So you've got the bodice and you've got the legs or the base piece for it too. So you can create one of those onto your card, or even have it standing up next to your cotton reel as well. Nothing's to say they have to be to scale to each other. You know, you can put this kind of wherever you want to. You've also got a little coat hanger, which is really sweet. So you could make your own little clothes or outfits and like hang them onto there. If you really are into your, you know, like sewing little things, you could sew a tiny little t-shirt or something and have it on a little hanger. Or maybe you have a t-shirt or a jumper die or stamp in your stash. You could use that in conjunction with a little coat hanger to make it more logical for just being like in the middle of your card. It could be hanging on a coat hanger. So that's a cool idea. And then you also have this one, which is a little banner, perfect for your sentiments, and it fits a lot of them in, and I will show you that. You also have a rolled rose, so also brilliant for decorating your cotton reels, adding little flowers onto there, and I've got loads of them on my finished sample as well. You also have a tag with the hole already in it, and this will match some of the sentiments and the stamp set. You've got this tiny little banner, which could also be a little silhouette house as well, but it's mostly supposed to be a little banner like this. So you could do some bunting, or you can use it with some of the stamps too. And then finally you have one of these, which I can't remember the proper name for them, but you know when you put all of your embroidery floss on them, they're like plastic kind of things, or it could just be a cotton reel as well. It doesn't have to be one of those sort of like embroidery floss holders. It could actually just be a cotton reel as well, and you could wrap some cotton around it if you wanted to make it look more realistic. Or in my tutorial video I show you how you can cut tiny little skinny strips of patterned paper and wrap them around so it matches with the rest of your card as well. So those are all of the dies, and then if I bring the stamp set in, let me try and zoom into the stamp set so you can see it nice and close, and I'll show you, oh, I didn't show you this one, or this one. I forgot 2 of the dies. Whoops. There's also a sewing machine, and if you had the sewing collection, I think it was a showcase from a while back, you've got all of the elements from that would work really nicely with this if you wanted to expand your sewing collection of bits and pieces. And then there's also this little sort of like a haberdashery kind of sign that you might see out of like an old style haberdashery sort of shop. And you have the interior piece, so you can stamp your sentiment onto there and then have the little sign there as well on your card or on your cotton reel, however you want to do it. So looking at these, that little label that was inside that sign, you've got two options on here to cut them out. So this one says handmade with love, and then this one says stitched with love. So you've got that option for those. For this little one that you can put your thread around, or that could be a cotton reel, you have got this option which says sewn with love, and you've also got this option which just gives you the stripy kind of cotton wrapped around there. Then that tiny little banner die you can use on top of these, so you've got the word sew, and you can use it to cut out all of those letters to create your little banner. To go with the tag shape, you have got this one that says lots of love, and then you've got this one that says from someone special. And then with the circles, you can use the circle that is designed to cut out the made with love to cut out these. This one says together like needle and thread, and then this one says so happy for you. And I think they're the main ones that coordinate. Actually, I think this one is supposed to go with this, yes. So you can actually stamp on your buttons as well. This larger circular button, you can stamp stitched with love, or you can stamp handmade with love onto those buttons as well. And then they're the main actual ones that coordinate, but the other one that you could also use with them is the little banner, and then you've got tons of different sentiments that you could use this little banner with. So I'll move these dies off and show you all of those, or read them out to you. So we've got the handmade with love and the stitched with love. We've got the lots of love, and then for someone special. We've got stitched with love and handmade with love, which go with that button die. We've got sew that you can use with that little pennant die. We've got sewn with love, and the one with all of the thread on it to use with the little cotton reel or floss kind of die. You've got a tiny little flower, which is really sweet. You've got to and from, so you can use that in lots of different areas on small little tags, perhaps even that little one. Yes, it will fit perfectly on there, to make that into like a little tag to add on to something as well. You've got this one that says together like needle and thread, and then this one that says so happy for you. Those are the ones that all have coordinating dies to go with them. Then you also have this little button, and then the remaining sentiments are the ones that will fit inside the little banner die. So you have handmade, and you have thanks, you have so many thanks, you have let's celebrate, lots of love, enjoy the little things, crafted with love, you're so lovely, and love you so much. So tons of different sewing themed or punny kind of sentiments, or handmade. I love that they put thanks in there as well. But really, really lovely selection of stamps that will create lots of different occasions for all of those people in your life who love sewing, or just appreciate sewing as well. They don't have to actually sew themselves, or maybe they're a big fan of like the Great British Sewing Bee or something. So loads of different ideas of ways that you can use all of these. So I will pass you over to past me to show you some samples that I've done, and then future me will appear again showing you the cotton reels that I've done too. That's what those rolled roses look like as well once they're done. So I thought I would do a little construction in this video for you. And now I'm going to show you what this die set actually is supposed to make. The one that it's supposed to make is this size. It's a 3-dimensional cotton reel or thread reel, and it is actually a box as well. So you can actually put stuff inside them, or you can just use them as home decor as well, which I think would be really, really lovely. The only annoying thing for me is that the decorative panel doesn't go all the way to the back. So when I stick some bits and pieces on this, I think I might try and disguise some of this with like sticking some buttons over it, so it's not really as noticeable. I think a lot of the time with these kind of sets, the idea is that you would put all of the ugly seams the opposite side to where this join would be, and you would cover this join to make it part of your decorative piece. But I didn't want to have that join as part of the decorative piece. I wanted to just have the beautiful pattern as the sort of front side. So because I'm going to make this, I want to make 3 of them, and I want to do a little kind of like cluster of them on here, on this little base that I've created. I'll tell you later how I've done that. But because I wanted to do like a little cluster, you're going to be able to see it from all sides. So if I stuck these 2 on with the nice side showing to the front of it, when you look around the back, you're then going to be able to see the gap in that design. So that's how I'm going to kind of disguise that. I think what I'm going to do is show you how to assemble one of these, and then I will still keep the camera rolling when I'm using my hot glue gun to stick all of the bits and pieces together, and I'll speed that up to music so you can see how I'm kind of like placing bits and pieces onto it to finish the whole design. I've got a few little mice that my mum knitted for me. I always think of mice with sewing, so I've got 3 little mice that are going to sort of hide within the design, and then I need to decide, this one is the actual size of the cotton reel. So it is actually height-wise, top to bottom, it is about 3¼ inches, or like 8½ centimetres roughly. But this one I extended. Thinking of it now, I could have actually just used the 2 of these pieces rather than a dark brown piece as well, because I didn't want to cut into another sheet of card. But it does make this little craft bit show off nicely. So and it also shows you where the join is for you to be able to see how much of the panels that I used. So the brown one, the dark brown one, is the full panel, because this full panel goes from the very top of the cotton reel to the very bottom of the cotton reel. So however tall you want your finished cotton reel to be is how tall you want to make your panel to be. So I need to decide, do I want my next cotton reel to be in between these 2 sizes? Do I want it to be taller than the tallest or smaller than the smallest? So looking at this, I was kind of thinking you could have one tipped on its side, obviously with the pretty side showing up. So I'm thinking I'm going to make it smaller than the original. So to make it taller, like I have for this one, the dark brown I've used as the bottom piece, and then all I did was just decide height-wise where I wanted this to be, and then you can use those glue tabs that already exist to stick that to there, and then trim off to the height that you want. And remember, the height is from the complete top to bottom, because this piece sticks inside down here to create the bottom of the box, and then this piece goes all the way up into the top of the box for the lid to stay on nicely. However, for the original sized one, because this is already decided for you, if you want to put this middle decorative piece on the cotton reel, this top lid hasn't actually got enough space to go all the way to the top inside the box. It actually only comes up a little way. So if I hold these 2 panels together, you can see that this panel is actually taller than the cotton reel. So I want my next one to be a bit smaller, and if I'm going to make it smaller, I'm not going to be able to use this entire piece in the middle. I was thinking of like ripping it and making like a ripped kind of design around it. So I want, or like the full height of my cotton reel is going to be the height, because if I'm going to rip that smaller, then this lid will be able to like go all the way down onto the central column of the cotton reel. So I probably want the height of this small one to maybe be like just about here. So I probably only need to cut off about 1 centimetre off of this panel to make my smaller one. So I'm going to do that. And the easiest way to do this is just to take your guillotine and then to just eyeball how much you want to cut off, really. If you want to do this one the exact same size that I'm doing it, I'm lining up these glue tabs, the little semicircular glue tabs. I'm lining them up with 2½ inches on my guillotine, and then I'm going to cut that piece off, and that's what we're going to use to be the small squatter little cotton reel. And this will also be a box, but I'm actually going to lie it down, I think, on this little cluster of them. So you could technically stick the lid on and not make it a box if you want to. You don't have to have it as a removable lid. You can definitely put a little bit of glue around there and get it to stay stuck as well. And if you are doubling the length of it, you could make your own glue tab to stick the two pieces together and keep these glue tabs along the top and the bottom, and then you would definitely be able to stick the lid and the base of the cotton reel, so it would just be more of like an ornament or a decoration rather than a gift box as well. So you can see there actually the difference. I've literally just cut off about 1 centimetre off of there. So that is going to be our main column, and now we want to get this to be in a nice round shape to make the central column of the cotton reel. So you can either use your glide folder and like go like this and try and sort of curve it round, or I found just getting like a glue stick or something with a cylindrical barrel works really nicely for just kind of holding this round a little bit, and you can kind of move it to sort of get it to twist around there and go into a nice circular kind of shape. You might have to do it a few times. You could go back in and use your glide folder or bone folder or card creaser as well to get it to be nice and curved. It is much easier with the shorter panels than it was with the larger panel, but it's definitely still doable to get that nice cylindrical column. And if you use a lighter weight of card, this is going to be easier for you as well. And then we want to stick these two pieces together. There's a glue tab, but you don't technically have to fold that glue tab because you're kind of just using it as a guide for where this needs to go, rather than it being, you know, needing to be at an angle to stick the two together. You kind of want it to be more of like a continuous circle, and I think not folding that makes it more of an actual circle kind of shape. So we're going to take a little bit of glue, run it down the glue tab, and then place that over the top, and then just get a couple of little pegs to hold it into place. And then this one you can actually fold that glue tab under, so you can get the, or fold the little semicircle glue tab under, so you can get the peg right in the nice position. And that's going to be the central core, which is actually going to be where you would put your gift. So I know this is like a relatively small kind of gift box, but it would be a really lovely way of giving a few little chocolates to somebody, something that you've handmade perhaps, maybe even maybe even like a miniature alcohol bottle might fit in there, like a tiny little bottle of Baileys or something, especially the tallest one. I think that would fit in there nicely. Or any sort of little wrapped sweets. It's a really nice, could be Christmas, because sewing can be all year round. It could be a summer sort of gift. It can be Easter. You could put little mini Easter eggs in there. They would work really nicely going in the centre of this. Any sort of little present that you might want to give to somebody, like bath things, maybe a few sachets of hot chocolates or different flavoured coffees or something. All sorts of different things you could put inside of these. So that is the main circle, which we're going to leave to dry. Then we want to start making the top and bottom of the cotton reel. I have already got one done, so we don't have to completely wait for me to make two of them. But you have this long piece here. I have embossed both patterns in. I don't mind that it skips to the second pattern. It's just much quicker to be able to emboss two patterns at once and only have to run it through once to get both the patterns and a pattern all the way along the length of it done. So that's how I've done mine. But you can definitely repeat the pattern if you like, although the first one might get a little bit squished. But you can definitely repeat the same pattern going all the way along that. So I'm just going to go all the way along the length of this on both sides and fold down all of those little glue tabs. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth folding them all now rather than later. And fold the end glue tab as well, and then go back along the other side and fold all of those glue tabs too. And then once we get to the end of this, we want to glue this into a ring, and then we're going to leave that glue to dry for a little bit as well whilst we do the next sort of section, and then we'll come back to this one. So we've got all of those folded, and then the ring goes round like this, so your pattern is on the professional edges on the outside, and then you've got that little glue tab there that you can put a tiny bit of glue on, and then put that right up against this one here. And then you can fold one of those glue tabs, or the semicircular sort of little tabs, around underneath it to hold that glue tab into place and allow you to place a little peg right there to hold that. So we just need to let that dry for a few seconds, and whilst we're doing that we might as well do this part of the cotton reel, which is kind of like, it reminds me of a mushroom, that kind of gill piece here. So if you had, I did this years ago, I don't think I ever did it in a video, I think it was when I used to put my projects on the Do Crafts thing, that I made one of these, but I did like a stem of actual cotton reels, and then on the top piece of it I had a circle, and I had one of those polystyrene spheres, and I cut it in half, so I had half a polystyrene sphere on the top, and I stretched over some red fabric with white dots on it. That kind of idea would look really cool on this, because this could be the stem of a toadstool or a mushroom, and then you could add to the top of it, you could bring in some fairies, all sorts of different things you could do. So that's definitely another cool idea to do for that too. But that bit just reminds me of mushrooms, which is why I thought back to that project that I made years ago. Then for this piece, you want this piece to actually make this portion, so it's a lovely solid piece, but you kind of want that decorative detail to be on there as well. So because we don't want this glue tab again, we've got the glue tab on the original one. This is just going to be a decorative panel, so we can literally just snip off that glue tab and then we can stick this onto here. But before we do that, we want to kind of shape this as well. So again, you can use your glide folder or your bone folder, or because this is kind of on an angle like this, kind of like how you might make a paper hat or something, you can actually curl this round to get it to have that nice shape, and then you can see it's going to form really nicely into that shape. So I just found pre-doing that before you stick them together kind of helps to get it back into that shape afterwards. So for this you want to make sure it is nicely stuck, so I'm just going to go around all the perimeters of this and then do a couple of little dots right in the centres of those little beams that are going between the two edges as well. And then tap off the excess, and then start where the glue tab is, so you want that to butt right up against where the score line is, because that's where you cut off that glue tab, and then you can just follow that round and stick it into position. And then this piece we can also stick now as well. And again, it has a score line there for the glue tab, but you don't have to bend it. It's not really a bend sort of glue tab. It's more of like where you need to stick the other piece up against. So we can stick that together, and we've now got this kind of little sort of domed piece that's going to be that under portion. So we've got that drying now, and we can put a peg on that to keep that into position. Then we can go back to this one and take that peg off. It should have grabbed now the glue, and then you want to fold all these glue tabs back up again. So I know we've pre-folded them and now we're sort of like undoing our pre-folding, but it will help later that we have already given that little score line a crease. So we've sort of tried to bring them up as much as we can. Then to finish this off, you're going to need 2 of the large circles. You don't have to use 2 if you don't want to, because you are going to be putting another one on the top anyway to add as your decoration. So this could have been your second circle with the decoration on there. I just like to completely make it and then add the decoration, so I am going to use 2 of these. And the way I like to do circular kind of things is I like to take one circle and completely cover it with red liner tape, and then this is going to be the first circle that we put in. So I'm going to take all of the red liner tape backing off to reveal all of that adhesive. And then we're going to place this inside that little ring. So I'd like to go from the top and sort of tuck it underneath those first glue tabs. If I come down a little bit further, I tuck it underneath the first glue tabs and then just gently push the other ones up from underneath, and it seems to work out quite well. Then you just want to go round and you're pressing from underneath and then also pushing the glue tabs down from the top so they're sticking onto that adhesive. And you just want to go all the way around just making sure that it's all stuck nicely. Your fingers will stick to this, and it is quite a strong adhesive, but it won't matter because we are going to add some extra glue. So if you do remove any of the sticky by touching it a lot, it won't matter. We are going to add a little bit of glue to the other one that we stick on top. So we just go all the way around the edge, tucking in all of those little glue tabs. You can see why they're different shapes now as you go all the way around. Having the semicircles and the squares, or they are kind of squares, allows them to all butt up against each other when they go around that circle. So it's really well designed. So now we've got our little piece that looks like this. We can then take the second circle, which could be your decorative piece if you wanted to just put that straight on. And I like to add glue right up to the edges because that's what's going to stick onto those glue tabs that don't actually have any adhesive on the top of them. And then I also just do a swirl in the middle as well, just in case we don't get it perfectly positioned. That'll help us be able to pull it off of that adhesive as well. And then just press that into position, and you've now got the first sort of top part of your cotton reel, which you could use for other things as well. If you wanted like a little plinth for something, that would make a lovely little plinth. It could be the start of a drum. You could do something to do with the 12 days of Christmas and the 12 drummers drumming, and have like a little drum, or just somebody who loves playing the drums as well. You could do something like that with this. Any sort of circular thing that you can think of that you want to try and create, you could actually use this kind of part of the die set as a basis for building something of your own. Maybe picking out some other dies from other Tonic die sets as well to kind of combine together. So now we've got that piece done. The next piece is to stick this on top of here. Now for this, I'm sure there are multiple different ways that you could do it. Probably the way it's designed is you put your glue on here and then you put that on the top and then you press from the inside. But sometimes you get in a mess with little bits of glue all over here, and I don't think anybody would want to put a tiny little bit of tape on all of those pieces. So what I did when I've been creating the other 5 for the other cotton reels, I took my 3mm tape, which the middle came out of, so it keeps getting everything stuck to it, and it's in a really bad way, but I'm almost at the end, so that's not too bad. What I do is take the 3mm tape, because these glue tabs are quite shallow, so you don't really need more than a 3mm, and then I just run it around this outer ring of this. Now it is going to be a little bit messy. There's going to be little folds in it because you're trying to make something that's straight go round a circular kind of piece, but I have found that this holds it into place really nicely, so that's what I've been doing. But feel free to do it however you want to do. I'm just kind of showing you the way that I have sort of figured out how to put it together. And I'm presuming this is the correct way because I didn't get instructions, so I'm hoping this is the right way that it's supposed to go together. And then we can take the backing off of this, and the good thing is if you do it in one piece, you can get it all off in one go, which is nice. No tiny little bits to take off if you had put it on all of those little tabs. And then I'm just going to press it down where all of those folded bits were as I made it go round the circle. I'm just pressing them down so they're flatter onto there, and making sure all of the adhesive is inside there and none's poking out. Then with this, make sure you line up that join with the join here, because then you can put all of the joins towards the back of the project, which is nice. So I'm going to start there, and I'm pressing from the inside. I've got my finger on the inside and my thumb on the outside, and then you can just go around and keep pressing as you go all the way around, and those glue tabs are just going to stick to that tape that we put on the inside of there, and you're going to get the perfect little bottom or top to your cotton reel. So you've now got this kind of shape done for you. And again, this could be for something else. Maybe this really reminds you of something. You could have it up this way and it could be a little elevated kind of plinth for something as well. So I'm sure there are loads of different ways that you could use this actual constructed piece as well and decorate it differently to make it look like other things too. So that is that portion. Then all we have to do is put our central column inside this. So this can be the base of our cotton reel. So this one, because I know I want to stick this, well, I'm pretty sure I want to stick this sideways, I am going to make sure all of the seams are lined up in the same place, because then when I lie it down on here, I'm not going to have a seam to hide. The seam is going to be facing down to the base, so there's not going to be any worries about having to disguise the seam. And then actually, when you put this inside, there are two ways that you could do this. You could fold these glue tabs inwards, which is what I did on the other ones, and then put adhesive on there. But I was just thinking you could fold these outwards if you wanted to and put the glue on the back. The only thing is it might be slightly harder to get it into here if the glue tabs are facing outwards, but you could fold them inwards or outwards depending on how nice you want the inside to look or anything. So I'm going to fold them inwards because that's what I did on the other ones. So just fold them all inwards. And then I am just using wet glue for this because I think it is the easiest way, because you don't really want any exposed red liner tape in the bottom of your box just in case your gift gets stuck in there. So I'm going to take it like that, and then I want this seam to line up with this seam, so I'm going to put it in that way round. And you can just kind of like manipulate this column piece to go inside the hole, and you can get it in there, and then you can turn that round so all of the seams are lining up, press that all the way down to the bottom, and then from the inside, which I think you can just about see, take your glide folder, your bone folder, your pokey tool, anything that you want to, and just press all of those glue tabs down so they're making contact with the bottom there. And if you wanted to, you could cut a circle and, you know, push that down to the bottom to hide those glue tabs, or make it a stronger connection as well if you want to. I'm not sure, I haven't actually tried, but that circle would be a little bit too small, the one you get in there. But I'm sure everybody has got circle die cuts in their stash. Or you could, before you put this column in there, you could take a pencil, draw around the inside. So put the pencil all the way, or the pen, all the way down, and draw around the inside onto a piece of card, and then cut it out. And then you could push that down into there to help hold those glue tabs in place and make it more secure if you want to. So that is that done. That is the bottom of our little cotton reel. Then I've already got the top piece done. So we can push this over the top, and hopefully our altering of this die set by cutting off that top edge should have made this, yeah, a little dinky cotton reel. So we've now got our small third little cotton reel. If I hold them like this, you can see the size difference now. Now if we did want this middle one to be slightly taller, you can see it's actually come out to the height that I said, but if we did want it to be a little bit taller, we could pull the lid up a little bit, and then when we put our decorative piece around the centre, make the decorative piece thicker to accommodate for that as well. I think for my decorative piece, I might as well decorate it with you, and then I'll just speed up me putting it all together. But for the decorative piece, I've cut the rectangle from some silver pearlescent cardstock, and then I've cut the detail from the sea salt green cardstock. I'm going to put the two of these together. So I'm just going to go all the way around the edges to hold it down nicely, and then just put a few dots in the middle. In this kind of, there's always strategic places in a decorative die cut for you to be able to put a little dot of glue. There's always areas where there's just like a tiny bit of more card left over that you can put those dots in to help stick it down. And then we'll line that up and wait for it to dry, because I'm thinking that I want to rip it and have like a torn edge going round. But if you didn't want to, you know, use another one of these or tear it down, you only wanted to use the full designs on the other ones that you've done, you have this die in there, which on the larger one, I put two of them around the top and the bottom of that panel. You could, if you wanted to, just put this around here as well. Now this is an edger die, so it cuts, it just cuts the edge and not the other side. So I'm just going to trim along that with my scissors. But you could, if you wanted to, just wrap that around the centre of the cotton reel, and that would be a beautiful pattern as well, which might actually be a nice way of doing it, rather than putting this on there. Maybe we could put this on the base, perhaps, if we had those two standing up and then this one lying down. Do you think that would look nice enough? Oh, what we could do is squish that so it's really small, and that will just about fit on there like that. And then we could put a bit of the silver card behind it maybe, so that it kind of matches more with that. Although this one has got the brown coming behind the latticey or the lacy piece. So that might work nicely like that actually. I didn't really think of just leaving it like that, but actually I think I will just leave it like that. And then I might add this to the base to give it a little bit more decoration. Maybe to go with this sort of wonky piece that I've stuck here, I could put it off to that side and trim off the excess or something to make it look a little bit different. So for this now then, this will actually meet all the way around. So this side piece or little sort of decorative border will perfectly meet all the way around. So this is actually a good option for getting all the way around your cotton reel, and again you can line that up with the seam of there as well. So I think I will go with that actually. So I'm going to take some adhesive and run that all the way along that bottom edge so that we've got you know, at least one bit on the whole perimeter or the whole circumference that's stuck down. Go back along there and then just put a few dots elsewhere just to help it stay stuck as well. And then tap off the excess and then line up with the seam there. And then you can place that all the way around and you've got that beautiful design going around. And if you are sticking this on and you have trouble with getting it to stay in the circular position, you can just take a little bit of washi tape or low tack tape and place that on there until the glue has dried as well, because I know you might not be able to get a peg in there. Or you can also take a magnet and put a magnet either side, and that'll help to hold it into position as well. Now because I want to put this one lying down, I think I'm actually going to stick the lid on. So it's not going to be that easy to get the lid to completely stay stuck because we haven't got the glue tabs on the inside there. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bead of glue all the way around this inside edge here, and then hope that gravity will kind of make that drip down once we've put the central column into it. If I leave it standing up for a little bit, hopefully gravity will pull the glue down. So we can put that back on to about there, I think, so that that pattern has got enough space. And then if I leave it that way up, hopefully gravity will make the glue push down, and so then that is going to be the top of the box. So I've got my little layered up decorative piece here. I've cut the main circle in the silver pearlescent, I've cut the detail in the sea salt green, I've cut the small circle in water sprite, and then I've cut the actual made with love little sentiment from some pearlescent green, which I can't remember the name of, but it's like a minty kind of pearlescent card. And then I'll just use this glue to stick this on. And then just stick that directly on the top. Now, we know that we want that seam, because we've stuck this. Normally you can twist the lid to be the direction you want, but because we've stuck this, I know I want that seam to be facing down on here, so I'm going to put this way up so that the writing is the right way up when this is placed down onto our little decoration. So that's how I'm going to stick that on. Okay, so I'm going to leave some of these bits to dry for a bit, and then I will come back with the camera on, speed it up to some music to show you how I put all of this together, and then I'll come back and show you it finished as well. Okay, so I'm not sure how good that was of you being able to see me putting this together, but look how beautiful it's turned out, just having those 3 cotton reels, one laying down, so you've got that like central sentiment kind of looking at you as well. And then this base piece, I said I was going to tell you how I did it and then I forgot earlier. I literally just took a piece of the Tonic Greyboard. I had a piece that was about 1/4 of an A4 sheet, so like roughly an A6 piece, and then I just trimmed it into a kind of like blobby rectangle sort of shape. Then I took a piece of the sea salt green cardstock, put a load of Nuvo glue onto the chipboard right up to the edges, stuck the cardstock on top, trimmed around the edge, and then just used one of these like little sanding emery board things to kind of like sand the edge, and it kind of made it sort of flow over the edge a little bit, just to sort of, again, give it more of like a fabric-y sort of look to go with the sewing theme. Then I stuck on the cotton reels first to get the positions right. I did this one first so I didn't forget to only put the glue on the seam side so that I could completely hide that seam. And then these two, when I put them on, I made sure that the seams were at the back, and then when I was decorating it, I covered the seams. So they now look like a beautiful decorative portion of the cotton reels on the back view. So if it were to ever be on a table that could be viewed from all sides, or maybe you've put it on your sideboard but you've got a mirror leaning up against the back of it so you could actually see the reflection of the back of it or something, at least it would be decorated from all sides now. So I thought that was quite a nice way of doing it. But if you did want this sort of decoration with like the clusters of buttons and the gorgeous flowers and stuff to be the front of the cotton reels, then when you're sticking them down, just make sure that the seams are at the front, and then you can use this method to hide the seam but also give the front decoration as well. So whatever way round you want to do it. And then I've also hot glued on the little mice that my mum knitted me as well. So I got one up here, one on the laying down one, and then one over here as well. I went through my stash and found buttons. I tried to keep my buttons in different colour families in these little really useful boxes. So I went through my green one and picked out a few minty coloured buttons. I also had some wooden ones in my little white and natural coloured box. I'm not sure where they came from, but I've collected them over the years from somewhere. So I thought they would go nicely to kind of tie in the idea that these are wooden cotton reels. So I thought that would work well. And then I also have some little boxes that are like random selections of things. You know when you get like a set of something free on a magazine, like I remember these daisies came free on a Do Crafts magazine years ago, and I just like chop them down into pieces and keep them in here. Some of these were from an old bead shop that was going out of business, and me and Mum got a ton of these little resin roses. I've put one cream coloured one there because I didn't want to have to paint them. I mean there's random colours in here that I might not use on a project, but I tend to use these a lot on my mixed media kind of projects where you kind of like stick a bunch of stuff down, then gesso over all of it and then add your colour onto it after that. So I don't mind that some of them are like brown colours that I probably wouldn't use. And then I also had these tiny little embellishments, again were from that same bead shop. These were £1 for this little bag. I've still got another bag as well, but they had tiny little like daisies in there, teeny tiny little roses and stuff. So I've got those sort of dotted around. There's tiny little rose in the centre of that flower, there's the green rose there, and then there's 5 of those little daisies in the grey colour spotted around in different areas as well. All of the little flowers are ones that I have die cut from the set. So there's a little set or a little die that actually cuts you the 3 different sizes of these tiny little flowers that don't want to focus. So you've got 3 different sizes of that, and all I did to shape these was take this ball tool from Tonic. So this isn't quite the biggest one, I think this is the middle one in their set, and it's got a smaller end, and I just put them onto the squidgy mat, roll around the petals on the back of them, and then you flip them over and poke the centre of the flower. For the tiny ones you can just, because that was the medium sized one, the tiniest little ones I literally just poke them in the centre on the front side of them to make them the little cup design. And then there's also a beautiful little rolled rose die in the die set as well, so I also used quite a few of them. I did a few from Vellum, and this is the vintage white vellum, which is 150 GSM. And then in the centres of all of these flowers and some extra ones as well, I just put some pearls in there that I'd recently bought as well. And I went back in and poked in some iridescent kind of like sequins in here too, because I thought that would look really nice as well. So I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And I will pass you over to past me to finish off the video for you. So these are the card samples that I have got, that I have created with this special showcase. Hopefully future me has just shown you what this die set is actually designed to create, but for my sort of brief I was asked to create a set of 6 cards using the dies, the papers, the stamps, and having 3 different designs, 2 of each of them. So I've just got one of each of them here to show you, plus an extra one that I made using the scraps from one of them. But if you want to see in depth exactly how I created these 3 cards here, sort of showing different ideas of how to use some of your patterned papers, or they could be Craft Perfect, or, you know, leftover wrapping paper, all sorts of different bits and pieces that you might have, then check out my tutorial video, because it's a really in-depth, probably like half an hour or a bit over, long video showing you exactly how I created all 3 of these cards, if you want to see them or be able to recreate them, or just be inspired by a different sort of way of using some patterned papers and including some of the dies from this set. Or you don't have to at all, you can completely just use the background and run with it with whatever else you have as well. So the first one is this one, which is similar to my CRaFTi tutorial, I think it was number 3, where I showed you the wonky scraps background, but this time it's using larger pieces, so not quite so much scraps, more of just actually utilising your patterned papers, and it's cutting them with the guillotine, so you've got the straight edges so that they butt up really nicely against each other. I know pretty much all of the cuts for the wonky background were straight because I used a long pair of scissors, but in this instance you'd have to do a few cuts along them, and you might go a little bit wobbly here and there, so I thought guillotine was the better way of doing the pieces for this background. And I also showed you how to move these pieces apart before you stick them down, to use the debossing dies from the die set to create some extra pattern in the background. And then we also used part of the piece that's supposed to make the cotton reel as little extra decorations, and then cut a circle of vellum using one of the dies in the set, and then use 7 of these little branches to make a sort of almost like a dainty wreath kind of element, or a small little frame, and the vellum just helps mute the background behind. And then I finished it off with a really simple little sentiment cut out with the banner in the die set, and a few of the flowers stamped and cut out. But if you don't like fussy cutting stamped images out, there are some small flower dies in the die set, which I will have already shown you earlier in the video. So that is the first card. Then I also did this one, which is using the paper distresser from Tonic, the sort of thread cutter. If you're into sewing, you might already have one of these as a thread cutter, and you just use it. I show you in the video exactly how I kind of hold my paper to get the best out of the distressing tool, to give this kind of frayed fabric edge to your pieces of paper, and it goes along with the sewing theme, which is why I decided to bring it out. It also works really nicely for a vintage kind of theme as well. But I thought sewing and frayed fabric goes really nicely with this too. I also show you in the video how I created these little like bobbins or spools or floss samples. I don't know what you really call these little tiny things. They're usually made of plastic or cardboard. You could even use these to actually organise your embroidery floss as well, actually. But I showed how I cut skinny strips of the patterned paper and wrapped them around these so that everything matched together. But if you had some pastel coloured baker's twine or some embroidery floss or something that you wanted to go with your colour scheme, then you could definitely use real thread or floss or ribbon or anything that you want to. I just didn't have anything that was the right kind of pastel colours that would work with this, and I thought it's quite nice to just show you everything from the special showcase. And if you get the special showcase, other than needing a few buttons, your die cutting machine obviously, that paper distresser, or you could use the edge of scissors, and then like general things like your guillotine and your adhesives, you can pretty much get going with these cards straight away, because I didn't add any other dies or stamps in. Everything that you need is in that showcase. But yeah, it's just another sort of different way of using your backgrounds, but then also showing you how you can make a background. This could be the wonky scraps background that I showed you before, but then cutting apertures out and using that to hone in on different areas of it as well. It gives a completely different look to it too. And I was saying in the tutorial video, if you don't put your foam tape right up to the edge of your apertures, you could tuck other elements in. So if you felt like this area was maybe a little bit too empty, you could tuck another die cut button or reel button or something in there as well to kind of fill in any gaps too. So that's the second card. And then the third one was using the main two circles from the die set and cutting sort of frayed fabric circles out of the patterned paper. So again, just using that paper distresser to distress and rough up all of the edges so it looks like frayed fabric. And then I also was telling you in the tutorial video how I like to balance my colours across a card and how I like to do it with like sort of 3 or 5 different bits and pieces. But because I had been using 2 colours of green and I cut 2 of each of them, I only had 4. So I decided to cut the heart out this one so that I could get that 5th element to kind of balance it as well. And I go into more detail about how you might want to do sort of balancing your patterned papers and colours and stuff across your card in the tutorial video as well. But just a really simple card using, that could be scraps that are left over, and if you only have enough for like half circles, you could make that part of the design as well, because nobody would know that that straight edge of whatever is left of the circle, nobody would know that's not part of the die cut, because if you scruff it up with the paper distresser, nobody's going to be able to tell if it was a die cut edge or a hand cut edge as well. But just showing how you can sort of use your basic shapes from that die set and create just a really simple card. And then I've used one of the decorative elements in the centre, and for this one, because those sentiments are very sewing themed, if you didn't want to use one of the ones that's a larger sentiment because it is on the sewing theme side and you didn't really want it to be a sewing themed card, but you know the person you want to give it to likes doing patchwork or has scraps of fabric that they collect or something, this kind of background would work for them, but you might want a different sentiment. So I often love to triplicate a sentiment. If it's a tiny little one, adding it on there 3 times, it just kind of makes it more of a an impactful thing in the centre of the card as well. So I've done that for that one. And then the leftovers of this one, cutting out all of the circles, because I was doing 2 of this card, I cut 2 circles of each size in each of the 6 patterned papers, so I had lots of apertures left over. So I did my usual thing of cutting random wonky quadrilateral shapes around those apertures and using them to create a background on a card. And then once I had stuck all of the bits and pieces on there, I took the 2 circular stamps that are in the stamp set and a grey ink pad and stamped them in the centres of the circles as well, just to kind of add and make like a tiled kind of pattern across the card. I haven't put a sentiment on this one because it kind of already has one, because it says "so happy for you" or "together like needle and thread." But if you wanted to, you could definitely go with a large scripty sentiment across there, maybe using a vellum bubble behind it, possibly doing white shadowed with a grey so that it all tied in and was nice and visible as well. But any kind of extra sentiment would finish this off nicely if you wanted it to be more of a birthday card or a thank you card or a well done card, you know, something like that. So those are the cards that I have created with this special showcase. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. I'm really hoping that future me has done what I'm supposed to do and shown you some cotton reels actually made up as well into a project too. And if you want to get hold of this special showcase, which is part of the Cyber Week 2022 celebrations, there will be affiliate links in the description box below the video. I do know that YouTube keep changing it around and they don't seem to be making it very easy for you to find the description box anymore, but just below the title, especially if you're on your phone, just below the title there should be a little thing that says, like, has an ellipsis and then says more. If you click that, it'll partially show you the description, and then you can click more again and it'll show you the full description. But if you ever can't find the description and you really want to support me by using my affiliate links, you can just Google Crafty Potential and you'll easily be able to find my blog. It's just www.craftypotential.blogspot.co.uk. and then you can find all of my links that way as well, if you'd rather do it that way. So I just thought I'd say that because I feel like it's less easy to find the description these days, but hopefully those of you who have been around a long time, you know, sort of know how YouTube changed things, and you'll be able to find the description. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this up close video. Don't forget to watch that tutorial video as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to be putting videos out on the same day because there's so much going on with this Cyber Week celebration, so I'm not sure. There could be both today, it might be one today, one tomorrow, or one today and one in a couple of days, I'm not sure. But yeah, hopefully you've been enjoying all of the Cyber Week celebrations as well. I know I don't have everything to do videos for, but hopefully what I have done videos for you'll be inspired by. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!